So in my hand right now is Rob Walker of Combative Edge and C. Despin of Max Venom's collaborated piece, the Dragon's Tail. Now I'm gonna tell you right now, it does not come like this straight when you order directly from Rob. Shout out to Rob Walker, awesome dude. Got the blade out to me and with a new kind of sheath. Thank you again, Rob. You're awesome. And this is probably going to be the only Karambit that I'll recommend right now that's available that works for both, pretty much everything in my practice, including instinctual fighting systems to Floro fighting systems, and I'm gonna elaborate on that as we go into this review. So I'm gonna tell you what I did on it. First of all is a Kydex chop, because the Kydex as it comes from Combative Edge will be actually extended to cover more up to the steel. So the reason why I have to chop it down obviously is so those of you who know me, you know I don't like blades if I can't get a full grip on it. So because of that, chop the Kydex to a point where I wanted the grip to end at. So it ended up like this, perfect. And it's still hold retention. I modified my students before I did this on this one. And one of the things that I'll tell you right now the difference was, the earlier version of Combative Edge's Dragon's Tail did not have this, what we would call retention tab. So if you tighten this down, it will actually cause more friction on the sheath to actually hold it better if it does ever get loose. Genius implement on that one. Way to go. The first generation did not have that. Other than that, it's got a nice little spot so you could actually use your thumb to kind of assist in deploying it if it's too tight and won't come out as easily. But here's another thing that I have to watch out for on that one, is because mine, if you take a look, the edge has been, there you go, it's been Hamaguri Bud, or Epicurean edged by my good friend Daniel Melly of Epicurean Edges. Thank you again, Daniel. You're awesome as always. So let me go into that on what I did in the modification. So as you can see, I'm gonna try to get it out. It's raining out, so I do apologize for the lighting. So, G Innovations single ridge wrap. So what the single ridge means, it's got one ridge on one side while the other side remains flat. This is to aid in concealment if your state permits you to carry a fixed edge for EDC concealed. Washington State, it does not. Where Washington State does permit though is an open carry. It does. This will be typically what I'll tell all my students if they decide to get this. How do I carry this open carry? Simple. Put it on your belt. Make sure it's clearly seen so it's not concealed in any way or form. Washington State does not permit concealed carry. However, open carry of weapons or blades, as long as they're not deemed, this is the weirdest ass shit, as I stated over and over again, whoever wrote this fucking shit is a moron. As long as it's not intimidating or threatening to the public, it's legal to open carry. Problem is, well, the entire wording on that shit doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So, here's that. Now, it comes single edge, but as I stated just now, I had Daniel grind up. So Ray and I have a joke that anything that Daniel sharpens is elven steel because it shines. If you're a big fan of Hobbits or the good old Lord of the Rings, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it shines. Love that. So it's been double edged. Bottom edge is sharp, as well as the front edge also. Main reason why I require this is because in FFS we cut edge in, not edge out. However, since I do practice both systems, like in draw point, we'll be using an edge out manner. I have no problem using both, but this works great. Now, why do I have this configured in this manner? And why is the ridge kind of angling downward? So allow me to explain on that. My teacher who taught me how to wrap, who will remain nameless because I promised that I won't be revealing his identity until he is 6 foot under the graves. That was our promise because he didn't want to get in trouble. When he would wrap the blades, one of the things that I've noticed with his wraps is that they fit almost naturally to the hand. And one of the things I started to do recently was I was taking a look at the pictures of the earlier reps that he did for me long ago. And what I found was they were angled to fit the contours of the hand, the palm. So with this is what I would call natural as it gets, because it fits all the void and the stress spots and just locks in perfectly to that. So I love this absolutely. So from a thrust, which is what us in FFS, Floro Fighting Systems, prefer, it works wonderfully naturally. Like from here, boom. Your non-telegraphic thrust from any given position just goes naturally. And we prefer a lanyard because one, it allows us to thrust without the worrying about the blade flying out of our hands, because in FFS our gripping method is slightly different. But the problem in the service, this is also a snagging hazard. This is the main reason why back in the old days many of my students in service, they were typically carrying around striders because they were the reigning kings then, and to many they are still the reigning kings. But one of the things that, like, many of my guys used to carry strider MTs and BTs, and then one of the things with those paracords being long, majority of my guys would typically burn them off at the end of the handle so they don't have that snagging hazard. Those of you who've been through Kill House or close quarters battle training, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Think door handle, cord, snag, your ass falling while a live weapon in act. So because of that, this is where Karambit shines on that, the ring factor. However, the ring factor is also the same factor why everybody fucking hates Karambit. So allow me to explain down that too. The beauty of the ring is allowing you to retain the blade under very stressful circumstances and situations such as that in close quarters combat. But at the same time, it also works great for FFS because you don't have to worry about the lanyard and the blade doesn't fly out of your hands, even when I'm doing the FFS thrust like crazy. But the scariest thing about this is that a mishap could also cause your index, your trigger finger from breaking. So that means you won't be able to depress the trigger to the rear, so very bad news if this is your secondary and your primary is your firearm. So with that said, that's the plus and the minus of a ring. Now, however, if you want to negate the factor of the paracord and without the whole hazard of snagging issues, this would be the way to go. Single ridge wrap, what mine differs is I have a layer of hem cord underneath this for extra thickness. Allow me to explain the reason why on that. While testing various different methods and also blades on impact testing by stabbing into posts, 2x4s, and even through cement bricks. Yeah, cement bricks, no BS. One of the things that came out from that conclusion is the following. When I just have this with 550 core wrap, even with my level of skills in wrapping, meaning I wrap them like skin tight, it still come loose. Even with the lacquer, it still come loose. So, and not to mention the shock vibration that's felt through the hand on impact, it sucks to a point where my hand will swell up like crazy to a degree that I won't be able to grip a gun when I'm teaching courses. So I would actually end up having to use my left when shit like that happens. So, I went back to my past. As those of you know, my background is Japanese martial arts. So, looking back at my past and how a Nihonto Suka, the handle is designed, you have a wooden core, then you would wrap that with same, aka your ray skin or shark skin wrap. Shark skin actually is what same actually means shark. So you have a shark skin wrap, then afterwards you wrap that over with a cord and you lacquer to seal. That's how typical Japanese Suka handle is for Japanese Nihonto, aka what you guys call katana. So looking back at that, and this is one of the main reasons why when you do a proper cut with a Nihonto, the shock felt is very minimal on the technique properly executed. Using that same technology, what I've done was obviously putting a wooden handle on this would be super annoying, not to mention ridiculous. So instead what we did on this thing was I put a natural hemp cord on that and wrap 2 layers of that underneath this to create a thickness. Now these are 2mm cords, so when I'm done it's about to 4mm, but when it shrinks after the occurrence, compacts it to almost 2.5 to about 3mm. So after that, I would 550 over that in single ridge wrap, and yes, I have got better to actually getting these a little more tidy when I'm actually finishing these up, and these almost look one piece, and I absolutely love that. And what happens is, not only do you have a blade that's very comfortable in your hands, you also now have a blade that if you do run into a thrust on impact, the shock felt on the impact is lessened, if not negated in total. So there's a technology on that. Now, edging, very important. The edge that comes from Combative Edge is great. Its forward edge is great. It does not come with a sharpened back edge, obviously due to probably state regulations, due to some states and some countries not permitting double-edged blades for import. So I had my good friend Daniel O'Malley grind to sharpen the back edge and also the front edge. For those of you who don't know, Daniel O'Malley, in my professional opinion, as a martial artist of 37 years, I'll tell you right now, the best togishi, or togishi in Japanese terminology is referring to gentlemen whose profession is to sharpen and polish blades. Because sharpening is polishing and polishing is sharpening. If you don't know, learn to sharpen a blade, you know what I'm talking about. Daniel's the best edger in this profession. I'm not just saying that as this side of the waters, I'm talking about overall, he's the best. We have, till this day, we have operators from Special Operations Command who's trained by yours truly that are carrying blades that are edged by Daniel. They'll take this to wherever there's Dukastan, wherever they're going, abuse the living fucking hell out of it, and they'll bring it back. The difference between everyone else's edges versus Daniel's is that the ones that Daniel sharpens, the edges don't chip or roll. Everyone else's, it chips and rolls. It's the way he does it. In Japan, we call that hamagori, which is clamshell edging. Very similar to what everybody calls Japanese convex. Ridiculously more meat on the edge, so less chances of getting chipped or rolled, or at the same time, freaking sharp. And if you know how to sharpen this, I have students who, I suck at this, but they're really good at it. All they do is they take a sandpaper and they sharpen that immediately, and it's freaking amazing to watch them do that. Not to mention, if you've been in service, it's all about less weight is more. So less is more, more is less. So they typically take a little sandpaper along with wherever their BDU pants, stick it in there. When they need to sharpen it for their knot, they just scrape that out and sharpen it. Freaking awesome. So, is it only good for back, like reverse grip, pakal? No, you can use this in forward grip, but if you're going to do that, I don't recommend doing this. I recommend gripping it out. This gives you almost like a pistol grip-like manner that allows to be executed very quick for slashing and thrusting. It's just natural for thrusting, especially if you have any fencing background. This will become one of your favorite blades. So there you have it, guys. A Combative Edge, Rob Walker, C. Despin of Max Venoms. God damn it, one of these days I gotta learn how to better focus this shit. Okay. Sorry guys, I really suck at cameras today. Can I actually get this damn thing to focus? Fuck it. Alright, so there you go. Single ridge wrap. Naturally curved, so it actually does fill the void in the hands. It's perfectly done. Absolutely love it. Double-edged. Oh, important part. How much is it? Rob's right now selling this under $100 on his website, so you might want to rush that. I will post a link below so you guys can take a look. But I got this for me, so this is mine, and I'll keep it as is. But for those of you, especially for those of you ladies locally here who are trying to get this one for your husband, boyfriend, or fiance, your significant other, I'm just gonna say significant other since it's easier. Get one. As those, I have my students who are like begging me for like, gee, open the book so I can get something wrapped. I'm like, for you guys can wait. For those of you significant others, you ladies are awesome because you're trying to get something nice for your significant other. So by all means, I'll open books for you. Just get one of these and I'll teach you guys how to wrap them when you guys bring it in. Social distancing, obviously, due to the rules of the state. But I'll teach you guys how to wrap them with the way I do. They're not really difficult. For those of you who knit, you are going to be champs at this. So it's not really that hard. But this is also only for the family only. So House of Black Dragon Society family only. Hit me up. I'll be more than happy to help you on that. Alright. So Combative Edge, Dragon Sail. Highly recommended and endorsed by the Caput Draconis, head of the dragon of the House of Black Dragon Society. Alright, and yes, it does, for those of you asking, okay, since it's right hand wrapped, does it work for your left? I haven't had much problem when I'm running that, so yeah, this is just fine. Does it flip? Oh yeah. Oh, why the hell would you? I never understood the folks who like to flip the Karambits. You can, but to be honest, it's not really a flipping tool. Alright, there you go. Thank you for watching. You guys have a wonderful and happy Merry Christmas. And if you need any training on this, I'll see you guys next month in January because training is closed as of at the moment. So, see you guys in 2022. Bye-bye.